welcome to Kickback with Chris, Martial Arts Podcast. Hello everybody, another week is on us. I hope you're all well. I'm going to have a little bit of a shorter episode today. Well, I say shorter, just compressed a little bit. For me this week, it's been an absolutely crazy one. I'm sure any other school owners out there will be able to understand this one. We've had our gradings. We've actually had a particularly busy grade, well, for us anyway. So it's been a full on week of prepping, the admin leading up to it, the actual gradings at the weekend, and then we've got belt presentations taking place this week as well. And then just to add to it, we've had a couple of drainage issues, shall we say, that have taken up quite a lot of my time. So apologies for that. Knock on of that is going to be really just a bit of a shorter episode this week. I've not had time to put my focus into it as much as I would like to, but not wanting to not put anything out at all. We're here today to do what we can as best we can. So this weekend we have the Martial Arts International Student Awards, which I will be at myself. Not as a student. I've actually got a couple of my students that are going to be there, but more in support of the event and the other things that are going to be going on that evening. Also, the same day, earlier on that day, there is the magazine launch for the new Martial Arts International online magazine. I believe it's been referenced as an online magazine. There's lots of information about these two things all over Facebook, but if you look up any of Paul Barnett's or Bob Sykes' posts, there's quite a lot of information out there, so go check that out if you're interested. I'm not too sure. It is probably a little bit too late to get involved now, but I'm sure you can keep up to date on all the news that's coming out from those two events, as well as anything regarding the events themselves. A regular contributor to the show, somebody who gets involved with the posts on the Facebook walls and directly to me, Mr. Kiran Pandey. He is starting up a new tricking class in the Manchester area on Wednesday evenings between 5 and 7. I believe it is for mixed age kids, so if it's something you're interested in getting involved with, get in contact with him. If you can't get in touch with Kieran directly on Facebook, then if you drop us a message here, then I will forward it through to him. I'm always keen to give the performance martial arts community a boost wherever I can. So today on this episode, we're actually going to be speaking to Mr. John McNally of the ITC, the International Taekwondo Council. A little bit more of a well, I don't suppose any of our episodes aren't serious, but obviously a little bit more of a I was going to say serious tone on this one. Something that martial arts as a whole tends to have is there tends to be a lot of politics, and I spoke to John a year or so back with regards to my classes, my club, my style. My background is in ITF and WTF Taekwondo. I've trained in both systems. WTF as a child, and then ITF later on as a older teen and adult. Eventually grading to black belt in ITF Taekwondo. As a student, I wasn't particularly clued up on so much of the politics and the stuff behind the scenes, because my instructor did a good job of keeping that out of the classes. That's not to say that I don't do the same, but obviously now as an instructor and a school owner, I do come across quite a lot of, well, do you say snobbery, I suppose, or questionable decisions. So I wanted to bring John on today just to have a chat about what his group offers, what they do, and how they've helped me in my club. So yeah, with no further ado, I think what we'll do is just cut to a quick break, and then we'll get on to John and his interview.
You're listening to Kickback with Chris, the Martial Arts Podcast, brought to you by www.onlinekicking.co.uk.
Okay, so joining me on the line now, we have Mr. John McNally from the ITC. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, sir. Not bad at all. Please do call me John, though.
Okay, just John, or just John by itself.
That's fine. Yeah. That's all I am.
Very cool. So I believe we first got in touch. I'm terrible at keeping track of time. I want to say about a year, maybe 2 years ago. Does that sound about right? 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's just over 2 now. Time flies, when you're having fun.
Doesn't it just? Or it isn't, age isn't a factor in that at all, is it?
Well, we'd like to think we're not. I'm head's probably younger than a lot more younger than the mind or the body. Sorry.
That's right. And I remember originally I first reached out to you. It was actually through my own club, my own teaching, and I remember we had a really good chat about a lot of good things actually, and a lot of things that I was at the time I was having a little bit of difficulty. We were very much an island, shall we say? My school. Had been on its own and kept to itself for it would be about 12 years by that point, and I'd missed out on so much stuff that I didn't actually realise was going on, and purely down to a lot of the politics and the the things that go on within the industry. And it was nice to reach out and contact somebody yourself, obviously, that gave me a good waypoint, good guide on what to do. So that's exactly why I wanted to bring you on the show, really, just to explain what you do, a bit about your own training and stuff. And
thank you. No, it was great to when we first met, you just wanted just a little bit of guidance. Obviously it's there for you to take or not take, but it was really good to connect, and I think we've become good friends over the years. To be honest with you, with what we've talked about. Yeah.
The power of social media. One of the good things that comes from Facebook. Mm-hmm. Of which there are many. There are a lot of negatives too, but no, this is one of the plus points. So, going right back to the beginning, yourself, sir. How did you first start out in martial arts? What was your beginnings?
Oh wow, you're asking me to remember that far back. All my family had been either in the military or in martial arts. One of my uncles was in the SAS and SBS. So he was very heavily into all sorts of different aspects. Didn't see a lot of him, to be honest with you, when I was really young. But my other uncles are into martial arts, and like probably 90% of us or 95% of us, we saw Bruce Lee.
Yes.
And we thought, I want to be like that. So that's pretty much what started me off. My first installings into martial arts was my uncles trying to teach me bits and pieces, boxing, karate, judo, aikido, kung fu, and then taekwondo ultimately. But I started off with karate when I was about 9 years old. Got my first degree in Shotokan, and then my first degree in Wado Ryu, and then I got my second degrees in Shotokan after that. Then when I was about back in 1990, I started in taekwondo, got the first degree with a group, and then I had about a year out or so because of one thing or another with families, and then I restarted at beginner level again, and here I am today for all my sins.
Fantastic. Oh, very training history there then. So, what was sort of the standout differences between the two different styles that you noted?
Well, with the karate, a lot of the time it was very rigid. Judo, it was very powerful, great for groundworks. I done judo for about 2.5 years. Okay. Then I done aikido, which I did really enjoy. It just didn't hit my nerves. I mean, every art suits a person different. You can't really say there's one better than the other, even with all the YouTube videos of one person that's not very good and another person that's very proficient on either art. So, at the end of the day, it all suits each other better. And Taekwondo really sat with me when I finally found it, purely because of how, to me, realistic it was and how the applications work in there within. Okay,
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a varied background with my training. When I first started, I was obviously starting out in the WTF Taekwondo style to start with before. And as is always the case, clubs open and close. And it's not often through choice. You end up bouncing around clubs. And I remember, I trained in the WTF system, which I really enjoyed. And again, I stopped for no other reason other than the club shut. And then the next nearest school available was an ITF school. And me being the youngster at the time, not understanding any difference at all, I remember I went along all full of steam, ready to go. And then I spent about 3 months getting punched in the face a lot.
But it's the WT version, as they prefer to be called now, which is a good change for them. Yeah, it's very dynamic. It's very powerful. It's very full contact, etc. And I think they're both very much interchangeable. Just depends on your point of view, as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, it was an interesting challenge, and it was nice to revisit things again from a different perspective, and something I do from time to time go back as well and have a little dabble and try and keep myself involved in both sides. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, what was really nice, originally I got in touch with you, as you say, for a little bit of guidance. I was going through one of those periods that I think all instructors go through at one time or another. You have that downtime and you think, do I want to be doing something different? And, we all put on that smiley face for our students. Or always that positive role model, but like anybody, we all have those days where we think, oh. Cool. And I remember you must have given me about probably a good hour of your time, if not more, chatting through different things, and the outcome of that being that we worked together, obviously, to discuss how I could, as an individual, become more involved with your group. So I just thought it'd be nice to start off maybe with where did the idea for the ITC come from, and what was your reasoning for creating it, I suppose?
Well, I've been part of many different groups. I've been assistant director to GTFI. I've been part of the TAGB, which is more of my ground in history. Yeah. Jungtong, all different groups, and ITF I've been a member of as well. But then, I saw different groups go bad and just money orientated. And seeing the vast separation of groups and people, with most saying, we don't recognise this person because they're not part of our group, and we don't recognise this person because of all the infighting. I thought, well, the only way we can actually do anything about this, rather than staying stiff upper lip like the British tend to, is to get outside the box and put yourself in the firing line, really. Yeah. I just wanted to set something up in a way that, in fact, the ITC was never envisioned to get to the state it is at the moment. I just wanted to create a network where everybody could work together without the political emphasis.
Yes.
Otherwise, as known as the financial greed, really, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely.
Everyone wants to control everybody to keep their farm going, as to say. But and every group needs their money to survive. They do. But it's just in the way that you do it, and is it fair?
Yeah.
I created the group in some way to calm it down and help each other and give different options for many people to have as you like yourself, just to gain some input and help if needed. Whether or not we do or not is, we're just there to help. Yeah. After all, we're supposed to be creating a more peaceful world. That is what Taekwondo's ethos is, really. And the ITC, I believe, is doing this. However, it can only do it with persons to back what they say by action, such as yourself. You've given us support. You're a member of the group, and giving us a chance to invite me onto the podcast is really nice, so we can get these couple of points across.
Yeah, well, it was a different. I mean, I'm with what happened with my school, and I think if there's anybody out there that's listening now in a similar position, this is why I would encourage them to get in touch with yourself and the group, because when I was training in the late 90s, there was quite a lot of the beginnings of division and split going off within the sort of the UK ITF community, and so I trained with an instructor in a school. Who then formed an association, which then later kind of went on to sort of dissolve. So fast forward to sort of when I opened my school, the problems I was facing was people were just simply not recognising what I was doing, despite the fact that I could point back to my instructors and people that I trained with, and they were still going, "Oh no, but we don't recognise that." It's like, well, I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. Not you personally, John. These people that were speaking, and I'm thinking, so you don't recognise what I'm doing 6 days a week.
You know why? It just comes down to the fact that you're not putting money in their pocket for them to provide you a certificate. And these certificates can cost you hundreds of pounds. We get around that by creating the e-card system, and that's something we can discuss in a bit. But the ICC is a new way of thinking and working. It's completely off the box, and a lot of people don't quite understand what it is and why we do it. And most people have had their fingers burnt as well, so they don't want to try and find out. And I completely understand that and accept it. But I think with a simple call, we can help them understand how we can work with them and help them to work with us, how we can benefit them, because we want all instructors and all students to succeed. We want groups to succeed. I mean, now we're a government-registered TKD and martial arts council. There's only 2 in the country. Now, they call them national governing bodies. I don't like that term at all, but it's unfortunately it's the only one they recognise. However, we prefer to call ourselves a national guiding body. Because, as you know yourself, all we're doing is we're offering our time, most of the time for free, to help persons such as you when you need to. And look at you. I mean, I'm well impressed with how you've grown and progressed now. If you don't mind me saying that, of course.
Of course not.
It's just great to see that journey. It's like having students, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see them grow and evolve, and you stand back and you go, "Oh, that's brilliant. That really, it's not jealousy. It's pride to know people such as yourself are succeeding. Good people."
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's been really nice actually this last couple of years. I mean, I'll hold my hands up and fully admit the fact that I got to a point where I was completely turned away from anything to do with training in Taekwondo as a sort of a recognised system outside of my own school, just because of the snobbery and the nastiness in some cases that was going on. You could go to an event, you can go into a room, and they judge you based on what you're wearing before they've even seen you do anything. This is a tournament, and I'm thinking, wow.
I went to see someone that's rather prominent within the Taekwondo community. In fact, probably the person. Well, let's just say it was an event where you got to discuss and share time with someone of quite substantial importance to the UK's Taekwondo history. And there was an instructor there of high grade, and I said, "Hello, sir," paid the typical respects,
Yes.
Never met the person face to face, had lots of discussions and always thought we got on. And I introduced him to a few students, and one of my students was Class A blind, and he's a black belt. And even the person holding the seminar was, how the heck does a black belt get to that level? So I was quite proud of him. He was better than some of the black belts there that were fully sighted and able. But this person demanded I called him master. And I looked at it and I thought, well, if you're demanding someone to call you master, then you're not a master.
No.
Because I think respect is always earned. I prefer, like my Grandmaster Paul Liversidge, he's had over 50 years of history in Taekwondo, a lot longer than most people recognise. He's trained all over the world and taught people all over the world. And he's only ever asked me to call him a black belt. He sat down with, the Jets, film stars, all sorts, and still calls himself a black belt. And I love that mentality, and that's why he's the Grandmaster for the ITC and on the Chang Han side of things.
Yeah, and that it's something that I initially caught my attention with what you were doing was the sort of very much hands-off approach. It was on, the advice is there, but we're not going to enforce upon you a certain way of doing everything, which is really nice.
We could.
Yeah, I've been parts of groups before. I've actually seen it happen. Where for example, with forms. If somebody's not holding their hand in a particular way or turning in this, there's these humongous fallouts over it all, and it's just like, really, is this what it's all about?
I understand there's etiquette, and being Europeans, there are other etiquettes we like to stick to. However, there are the silly etiquette, as you just said, about having your hand in a particular way, etc., etc., etc. We're all different. If we were all the same, it'd be a very boring world. And I do appreciate some etiquette, in public, saying sir or ma'am, paying that, general courtesy and respect. But respect comes both ways. Yeah. If it's not earned, it won't be given.
No. Absolutely, I love it. Now, earlier on, you mentioned the e-card system, which is that's really I actually really like this. This is really cool. I remember when I had mine done, and I was like, "Oh, it's cool! I've got this little card thing. It's really cool." But if you could just explain a little bit. Obviously, some people probably heard that and thought, "Whoa, what's that?" So if you could maybe explain a little bit behind it and the benefits.
Well, the e-card system is part of this recognition for each other across the world, basically. You know, as we were saying earlier, some people say, "Oh, I don't recognise you because you're not paying us for our certificates." Okay. Well, this negates that issue, really, because it was born to support everybody really, by the way of international rank recognition. And as I say, with everyone, you know, well, not everybody, but so many not recognising each other's rank, the verification system means that when a person applies for degree rank, we actually contact that group's head of where we've seen that certificate come from to ensure it's valid and from a real group. The rank has to be verified by a genuine respected group. It can sound a bit contradictory, but... And I have seen certificates in my hand where I've contacted the group and they've said, "Oh, no, he's not part of ours." But it's a real certificate because I know because I was part of that group. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes we have to take it, you know, a little bit further, check that history just to ensure that they are who they are. Not done by some group that's got a grandmaster that was a third degree is now a ninth in the Bates to take over a couple of years for setting his own group up. And I think we know there's a rather large one at the moment that's growing quite well. But anyway, not say too much about that. But it also recognises you. It allows you to show everybody you are who you say you are. It's a backup for your certificate. So if the worst happens, you have a fire, we've got a copy of it. Yeah. You know, if you go around the world and you go into a door somewhere, you can go, right, there it is on my phone. There's my e-card. That's me. You know, I am who I say I am. Can I take part in this seminar? It opens doors for you, but it also gives you discounts to our events and discount things to services that we offer. And the reason we do the discounts is to say thank you for your support, because the ITC doesn't charge for a lot of the things it does, but some of the things it needs financing just to support the website. The advertising for things, the competitions we create, seminars we do, even when it comes down to umpires courses, which we did one for free, but then the hall ended up charging us a load more money, so we had to charge everyone £5. Whereas most umpires courses you go on are 100, 150. Yeah. You know, so we're not there to be millionaires. What we're there for is to be able to, we charged for the e-card to help us be there, basically.
Yeah. That's a really good idea. So you mentioned, obviously, it's international recognition. So what countries are currently members then? What sort of reach do you have?
I mean, we've now got membership in Pakistan, India, Korea. For the cookie one, we've actually got officials in the cookie one that are working with us. We got permission off Grandmaster Jong Chan Kim, who supports what we do by providing us written confirmation to use his logo that he designed for the ITF. Ireland, America, Canada. You know, we're everywhere. France, Germany, Italy, and Spain.
So truly international then.
Yeah, and everyone that's got an e-card is recognised by every single one of these people in the countries. And to be honest with you, even if you're not part of the ITC as a membership, but you're a member of it on the Facebook group, you can, and that's a wonderful world about, as you were saying earlier, about multimedia such as Facebook. You know, you see an e-card, you then go, oh, well, that's his background. I know who that person is a little bit better now. Yeah. I'd like to talk to that person. I'd like to find out a little bit more about that person. And then you grow your network of people you can get advice from.
Absolutely. No, it's really good stuff, and it's really nice to see it grow as well. And as you say, especially with social media, more and more people getting involved, and some of the healthy conversations, as you say, that's the thing about these things. And I know more than most probably with this podcast, especially. Not everybody's going to agree all of the time, but that's okay. That's okay as long as it produces healthy discussion and not just full out arguments.
Well, that's it. Everyone, I think we need to sometimes. I don't want to use a word that might offend people, but grow up, because we can have conversations and discussions, and just because we don't agree doesn't mean we can't agree to disagree. We all have different opinions. There was one friend of mine, and he was supposedly a really good friend of mine. We discussed lots of different areas, and I just said to him, well, one point offended me, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. And
it didn't bother me at all that the fact, yes, it offended me in what he was saying, but I just said to him, but that's your point of view. But because I said it offended me, he decided he didn't want to be a friend of mine anymore. And he said to me, his actual words to me and publicly messaged was, well, I hope we can stay friends even though this. I says, of course, it's just my point of view. It doesn't mean it's everyone else's point of view.
Absolutely. And that's the right way to approach things, really. You must, and this might be a tricky one, but you must have this come up sometimes, whereas you have groups sort of demanding other groups and not to be members, and how's that?
I've had that already a few times, and quite simply, my reply is always pretty much the same, and I just say, well, I am sorry you feel this way, and it is a pity you need to leave us because of this mindset. When you feel you can get past this and network with thousands of other members, then by all means, please do say hello. Because no one owns the ITC, as to say, and the ITC definitely doesn't own anybody. We can work with whoever you want and respect those that you don't want to work with. It's about using the ITC as a neutral body. So if someone demands another group can't join, then I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. You just don't work with that other group, or you allow their members to come to your competitions, but you don't have to work with them.
Yeah, it's a fear and control thing, isn't it? It's very similar to when you've come across some instructors. Well, no, you must not go there, or you must not train here, or you must not this. It's a fear and control thing, isn't it? It's or maybe a lack of understanding. I think if these people were to maybe contact you and reach out and discuss this, it might be something that's resolvable over a 10-minute phone call.
Exactly. I mean, if a group doesn't work with another group, doesn't matter. We've got members within the ITC that know that fully already. And don't forget, I'm going to be liked by many, and I'm going to be disliked by a heck of a lot more just because of what I've done or what we're creating. And I can't do this on my own. So, we have persons such as, Master Harrison. He's one of the most open-minded instructors with the most amazing background you can think of, and a genuine down-to-earth guy that is happy to help pretty much anybody. Then you've got Roger Lawrence, 7 times European champion, is he now, world champion, and 5 times international. Then we have, such as yourself as well, and Grandmaster Andrew Parang Gurung from Pakistan, who's the Cookie One 7th degree representative, 9th degree obviously over there. Then you have Khalil Gibran, who's another Cookie One representative that we get verifications through. Rajesh Kumar, we have Deutschland representatives that we check certificates through and stuff. So it's an amazing amount of people to be able to contact.
Yeah, a breadth of knowledge and experience there for sure. So what do you see in the future then for the ITC? Do you have any aims? Do you have any specific goals, things you want to aspire towards?
Well, we're going to continue doing what we do and what we have done for the last 8 years. We would just want to be here to help more and more people, find new ways to help them. And basically we want to try and get teams and people to go around the world to be able to compete. And to people that can't normally really reach that competing level because of finance, we want to be able to take them for free.
Wow.
Because we've got some pretty talented people across the world that just can't afford to go to competitions because of one reason or another. So if we can get to a state where we go, right, you've proved yourself, you're in the squad, let's take you over there and not charge you a penny. Help people who are struggling to succeed, continue to do what we're doing, stop everyone from feeling a little bit lost. And that's it, really. Just continue doing what we're doing, but we don't ram things down your throat.
No.
We'll tell you what we can do, let you know what we can do. It's up to you to contact us, because so many people will turn around to you and say, oh, your best route of path is to join with us, and we'll just charge you £10,000 for the honour.
Yeah, very, very, very true, very true.
Exactly. So we just want to be there. That's what a council, in my eyes, is about.
Yeah, I mean that. I've very much, as you know, I'm hang around. I'm always reading posts. I'm always keeping them now, and I'll just sort of drop in here and there every now and again. But it's always really useful for me, the information that's shared, and especially with the social media side, with the Facebook group, is, you know, quite often other people post comments or questions and ask certain things that other people are thinking, myself as well. So being part of that, we're all able to learn through each other and share those experiences, which in the old days, it's only sort of 10 years ago, I suppose, that just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. We all sort of looked at each other across a competition hall or wherever, and this is sort of this really nice. It's brought people together and for a common goal.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the fear of people working together or actually communicating is sometimes they feel that they need to change their identity, or they've got to change this, that, and the other, and become part of one or another's group. Again, the ITC, it doesn't matter if you come up and say hello to me, it doesn't make you an ITC member or change, your flag. You're still yourself, and we don't want to change your identity. We want you to stay who you are. We wouldn't want to try and control you and change your badge. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're still an individual. And the ways we help are just phenomenal. Insurance is for £5 million, and memberships are so cheap for full memberships, and it means that we can all attend each other's groups. Our competitions cover everyone to attend. It's not a case of you have to pay for an extra group membership cover or anything like that. So many ways we can help.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the competition side there. That's something that you're actively involved with. I've seen on Facebook, and something I do actually want to get more involved with from next year onwards. I've been my focus of recent has been making sure that everything. We did used to have a competition team that we took all around all over the place, all around Europe, and we took a bit of a step back. We'd had a few bad experiences, shall we say. I'll not go into it on this episode, yes. But your events are one of the events I'm looking to get our club back in, or not back involved with, directly involved with, just to see where we are with our journey, and my journey, sort of, with bringing things back into line with the traditional side of things. So, could you share a little bit about your competitions and things that you've got going on?
The competitions we've got going on, the ITCs is this Saturday. The ITC UK Opens is where anyone can come from anywhere in the world. It's only the second event, so it's still growing. It's still in its infancy. But it's where you can come, whether you do sine wave, poomsae, any sort of forms that you do, or any type of sparring you do, under one basic set rules, that it should be functional. So if you do practice sine wave large or sine wave natural, etc., without going into the old sine wave discussion, then it's functionality and the correct use of the tools that count. So it's very neutral in the way that the awarding system is going. So it means it opens the door for, if you're and just for example, because Puma are fantastic guys, they have their opens the last weekend, and it sounded like it really, really went well, but I missed it. Or then you have the TAGB competitions, which are huge events. But it's a case of we invite everyone from these events. So instead of having, 17 different heavyweight world champions all at 1 year, they can all come to the ITC Opens and play together. But the thing is, it's all managed and run by people that have all different backgrounds. So it has no option but to be neutral. So if one person comes from one group and he comes in with a vest top and a pair of shorts on, that obviously that's not going to happen. But and then another person comes in with a Nike or Armani suit on, then it doesn't matter. We're not really bothered. It's the quality on the floor that counts.
Which is refreshing to hear, because unfortunately you still do see it happen. I've seen it happen myself. Bias. With results based on what people are wearing, and there's no way that it can be argued, because you can see it in person, or you see it on videos, and you're thinking that is quite clearly, very blatantly biased towards somebody based on what they're wearing, not on how they've performed or how they've fought. Which is, again, it's a really nice thing about what you were saying there, is having an event where there's lots of people from lots of different backgrounds. It means that it's neutral.
Yeah.
And another nice thing as well, it offers. I think what can often be overlooked here as well is a lot of the sort of political elements and the infighting is between the instructors and the heads. It's the students that miss out. And giving the students the opportunity to mix with other students and go. I remember as a kid, I ended up at the club that the school that I was at said was the bad school to go to. And I remember when I got to that school, because that was the only one that was left, I'm thinking, these guys are really nice. And I think that's another really positive thing, is that maybe some of these students will get to mix with other students that potentially they've been told, oh no, you mustn't connect with these guys. So,
and I think that's part of the fear factor in some cases, because instructors may sometimes fear that they don't know enough, and their students might leave because of such and such. But
absolutely,
it's daft, really, because a student, once they start at your school and get to know you, they like you, and that's why they stay. So it's a fear that doesn't need to be there, really. I mean, I encourage my students to go to other schools and get extra training in the local area, and go to other events and seminars. I don't hold them or restrict them in any shape or form.
Which is a really refreshing and good thing to hear. So it is. I wish more people could be like that. Well, I just wanted to thank you very much for your time today, because I know this was arranged at very, very short notice, incredibly short notice. I didn't actually mention it on the outset of the podcast at the beginning. I mentioned the dramas that I'm having. It's all good fun. The challenges of a school owner.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity as well.
Oh, no, absolutely. You're doing great things, and I do. Just one final thing. Really important thing. If people want to reach out and connect, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
I'm happy to talk on the phone. They can have my number 0777 337 6633, or go through Facebook and message me direct, or email me. Happy to talk always.
Quite possibly you might be getting phone calls at all times of the night now, because
yeah.
The really crazy thing is, this podcast, since when we first started it out, obviously it's still in early days, but already we've got listeners coming in from Vietnam, from Canada, from all over the place. It's absolutely crazy. And another cool thing about technology and how things are progressing, the opportunities to communicate in such an easy way, which is why I thought it would be nice to bring you on and share the good things that you do.
Can you edit out the Brummie accent though?
Unfortunately, I'm not quite at that level yet. Is there even a filter designed yet to deal with it?
I don't think there's anything that capable just yet. I think technology has moved along that enough. But no, it's great. The podcast, I've listened to a few, and it's fantastic. It really is good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your support. I hope you have a great weekend, whatever you're doing. And you've got your competition, haven't you? You've already mentioned that. You'll be busy prepping. Well, thank you again for your time, sir, and we will catch up soon.
A pleasure. All the best now. Be safe.
You're listening to Kick Back with Chris, the martial arts podcast, brought to you by www.onlinekicking.co.uk.
So, thank you to John for his time today in that interview. Some really useful information there. And if you're an instructor out there and you're a little bit like I used to be with my school, a bit of an island as I described it, we used to keep completely to ourselves. We still do with regards to certain things, but we do try to network a lot more now. It's obviously better for my students as well. to have a wider network of other places that we can go and train, instructors we can bring in, that sort of thing. But some other important messages within that chat as well, and I think it's one of sort of tolerance and understanding that people are into martial arts for very, very different reasons. Some people get into it for competitive fighting reasons. Some people get it in for self-defense. Some people like the performance element, the forms. Some people like the more gentler arts, looking for more of a sort of a meditation side of things. So it's a huge variety of ways to get into martial arts and reasons why. And I think it's important that, regardless of how you view martial arts, you need to make sure that you don't think everybody else should feel that same way, see it the same way as you do, and just keep that in mind when you're inevitably judging other people, because it's just what we do. I think we all like to think we don't do it, but I think the reality of it is as human beings we do judge. But keep that in mind. When you see somebody practicing an art that you maybe feel is impractical or wouldn't work for you, on some level, in some way, it's working for them and they're happy. So leave them to it, I suppose. So what have we got coming up in the next couple of weeks? Well, I've got a number. We're in a really funny situation now, whereas as the podcast is starting to grow, it's starting to give us more options as to the different people we can contact and different options we've got. And we've got a number of people lined up over the next couple of weeks. I'm just trying to finalise the finer details of what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be discussing, and then hopefully I'll be able to make some announcements of some of the really cool guests we've got coming up. One thing I will say now is that in the coming episodes, I want to do I would say it's probably one for me, really. It's one that I want to do. Why not? It's my podcast. So I want to do an episode focusing on Jackie Chan and his work over the many decades. And I thought it'd be cool if we could include different people from within the industry, so students, instructors, stunt performers, actors, a wide sort of cross-section of different people, giving their memories, their favourite moments, talking about different elements from different films, techniques, that sort of thing. A little bit like last week with Mark when we were discussing our sort of opinions on his kicking work and that sort of thing. So yeah, I thought it'd be a nice one. We could do a favourite stunts, that sort of thing. So if you have any feedback on that at all, if you want to get in touch with us via our Facebook group or our website, you can get us at Kickback Podcast, if I can say it. Let's try that again. Kickbackpodcast.com or martialartspodcast.co.uk. Either of those will get you to the same website, and there is a web form section where you can fill it out and it drops me an email. Or, as I say, get us on Facebook, send me a private message. Those who've got my phone number can give us a text message as well if you want, or even an old-fashioned phone call, should you like. Just as a note, anybody that wants to come on the show, you are welcome to discuss any of these things. All you need to have is Skype. You can have it installed on your phone, tablet, PC, laptop, whatever. It tends to work best, I've found from the recordings that we've done so far, on either a desktop or laptop with a microphone, or on an actual mobile phone where you can just use it as a normal phone. Those tend to be the best recording options. So if you're interested in getting involved, please do get in touch. Also, if you have any news, views, or reviews, God, that's all rhymes there. If you've got anything you want to mention, talk about, get in touch, we'll get you on the show as well. I'm hoping soon to have the option for you to leave sort of like short voicemail clips as well that we can import in and use, so that would be cool. We're just looking into getting that going. And if there's anything you want to see change, anything you want to have added that's not in the minute, then get in touch. As I say always, please do, if you could head over to iTunes and subscribe and leave us a rating and a review, and Stitcher as well. We do have a lot of people that use Stitcher, but at the moment there aren't any reviews or ratings on there. And if you could do that, it really does help push it out further. So please get on top of that. So, whatever you're doing at the weekend, I hope you have a great time. I'm assuming that most of you will be watching the football at some point. Or if you're like me, you're a motor racing fan, we've got the Silverstone Grand Prix this weekend as well. So, 2 things to look forward to there. Oh, also, if you're listening to this and you're going to be at the Student Awards this weekend, do catch up with me, say hi, have a chat. And it'd be good to speak to people. And I think we're going to leave it there for this week. As I say, a bit of a shorter one. Thankfully, I think we've got on top of our issues at the gym. Fingers crossed. But yeah, looking forward to next week, and I'll catch up with you all then. Bye.
Enjoy our podcast? Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review Kick Back with Chris on iTunes today.